Hello and welcome back. I hope you're ready for another episode of Tales from Helheim.
After that feeling came over, there was a noise, and it was just like at first it was just loud background noise. It was just like a humming or a vibration sound. If I could describe it, like, because we're that old, like when you have a stereo that's on like max volume. Yeah. But there's nothing playing, so it's just like that just background,
that weird like interference. Yeah.
Yeah, that background white noise, but very loud. I opened the door because the door was closed and locked, so like I wasn't like super worried, but opened the door and looked down the hall towards the living room, and this is where the mood completely changed. Completely changed because I stared down that hallway, and our aunt and both of our mothers keep like night lights everywhere. I don't.
Oh yeah.
So there's never like a complete darkness feeling, but there was a wall of black at the end of that hallway. I mean to the point where you would think that you could cut it. It was almost a solid. It almost felt like it was material.
Yeah.
Like a solid black wall where you could not see past the end of the hallway. And after looking into that, and you know where like stuff turns to bullet time?
Yeah.
Because you're in shock and you're so afraid. Yeah. So 1 second seems like 8.
Yeah.
That definitely happened because staring into that black, I was immediately terrified. I mean, like, yeah, like just vibrating with fear. It was scary. And what followed was even scarier because then voices, and I don't mean whispers that like are only going to get picked up on like an EVP or a mic that's laid somewhere else. I mean,
yeah,
speaking voices at the volume that we're speaking at now or louder.
Right.
Come from the black, layered. And they were male voices and female voices, and they were layered and talking over each other to the point where, like, in that moment of shock, I couldn't understand what any of them were saying, like, at all.
Yeah, just random voices.
So I closed the door in, like, pure terror, like, literally, like, backed up slowly, and I didn't make it to the bed before I just, like, fell to the ground, and I started crying. So I'm like 13 years old. This was easily like a new level of scary for me. And that says a lot coming from someone who's had several experiences, but just fell into like tears, and that static feeling, that background noise, and the voices, they didn't stop. After the instance that I closed the door, it didn't stop, it just kept going. And so like I could hear it growing louder, and I didn't know what else to do. So I'm crying, and I'm 13 years old. So my first response is to go get to an adult.
Yeah.
Like as quickly as I possibly can. So I opened the door again. The black is still there. It hasn't moved. It hasn't anything. but those voices were close to yelling at this point.
Yeah.
And so the door to my aunt's room, our aunt and our cousin were sleeping within the same room.
Yeah.
And so I opened that door thinking like, cool, this is my moment of relief. This is where I'm going to wake up an adult. I'm going to be comforted and everything's going to be okay. But I opened that door and the bed was made. Nobody was in it. Our aunt and our cousin weren't there. The bed was made flat. Neither of those people, not a lot of people in our family are small people.
Right.
So we're all larger individuals. We're big. we're big people. We're kind of fat and we're big. Like that's it, just we are. So when I opened that door, like if you were to see any member of our family in a bed, you would know it.
Yeah.
And that bed was made. There was nobody in it. It's like the blankets were pressed on, like you were entering a hotel room that had just been like turned over. And that's when I added panic to fear. And then I went and entered our older cousin's room, thinking that our older male cousin should have been home. Now he got off work like really late and would come in and no one would hear him all the time.
Yeah.
So burst into his room, which was now, if I exited our aunt's room, it would have been diagonal back to the other side of which I came.
Which is closer to the darkness, right?
Yeah. Which is about...
Wow, you have to run back towards it?
Yeah, about 4 feet closer.
Fuck that.
Closer to it.
You're like, which is about 10 feet closer than I wanted to be.
Yeah, which is... Yeah. I wanted to be further away from it, and I had to run closer. But in that moment of panic, your brain doesn't think in those terms.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, my older cousin was like, okay, it's got to be 1920 at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
somewhere around there.
Yeah. So I think it's like a 7-year difference. So like 20 years old. So I'm thinking, cool. The one big, strong, grown man in the house, I'm going to go there, right? That's going to bring me some safety. He might call me stupid for saying what I just saw and make fun of me a little bit, but I will be safe.
Yeah.
And I burst in there. Same thing. Same exact thing. And I didn't know what to do at this point. Like I'm like, that's not right. This is not a thing that should be. And so I ran back out. I ran to the room that I was originally in, and at this point it's not layered voices anymore.
Yeah.
It's one voice. It's inhuman. I don't know how else to describe it other than the fact that it's inhuman.
Okay.
And I mean that as like someone who like listens to like very like heavy like death metal stuff. Like I know what that sounds like when a person does it.
Yeah.
And this was just unlike that. It was so deep. It's just, yeah.
It was a young Will Ramos.
Was it still like multiple voices, but just talking as one?
No, it's just one voice at this point.
Shit. Around what time was this like around? Because you said that Adult Swim was already on, and that starts like later.
Oh yeah, this was Aqua Teen, so this had to have been like after midnight.
Shit.
Probably.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it all the more
1:32.
terrifying, because it's like, if it's 1 or 2 in the morning and then nobody's home, like what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, everybody's supposed to be like home now. Like
I went to Ice Cream Sundays without you. Damn.
You know that
we have to sneak out at 2. We're not taking them any.
no, Yeah, crumble wasn't a thing, so you couldn't just go get cookies that late. Yeah, so I went back to that room, and again, like at this point, I don't know if it's my recall or if it's just from the shock of the moment. At this point, I can't like remember to tell you what exactly it was saying. Like I don't recall that at this point. I think, like, again, either it was shock or I've tried to repress it that much to the point where I just don't remember. But I remember I went back to that room and cried and screamed for even if we were still in the like shocked bullet time thing, would have been at minimum 5 minutes of me just laying on the floor, crying and screaming for help. I mean, like my vocal cords were like fucked after that.
Yeah.
Like I was screaming so loud, just like pure fear screaming, like from the throat. And finally, my aunt and my cousin burst through the door. What had to have been at least 5 minutes later, maybe more, somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Burst through the door and is like, what's wrong? What's going on? And I'm asking them, where were you? Like you weren't there. And they're like, we've been asleep this whole time. What are you talking about? Like, and we just heard you start to scream like right now. Like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I've been screaming for a long time and you weren't here. And then my older cousin comes and joins them. Like, what are you doing? Why are you screaming? And I'm like, where have you been?
Like, where the fuck have all you guys been?
And even he was like, I've been home. I like watched TV and went to sleep already.
When the fuck did my family show up?
But there's like, that was it. Like, they tried to comfort me. At that point, I was inconsolable. Like, I had to call my mom to pick me up because there was no way I was finishing the night there. That wasn't happening.
Yeah.
She ended up calling me and asking if I would drive her to go get him. So at that point, that's how I found out about the whole situation once we picked him up.
Shit.
Yeah, and so he ended up staying the night at our family's house just to console me. We didn't go to sleep until like well into the morning, but
took a lot of gaming.
Yeah, you like. I mean, there's nothing else for you to do in that scenario other than try to like distract yourself.
Yeah,
because if you
oh yeah.
I mean, you could try to sit and rationalize it to yourself, but then you're just...
There's no rational explanation for it. You're just going to keep pondering it and make it worse.
Yeah, then you're just going to keep reliving it in your head.
That's the exact same shit that I had said earlier. When I saw that fucking giant figure, I was like, I can't go to sleep. I was like, I'm going to keep thinking about this. So I just turned TV on and put like some fucking cartoons. I wasn't even watching it. I was just like kind of like trying to focus on something. Other than what the fuck just happened. I was like, because you can't rationalize it. Because if you try to, you'd be like, I'm insane. Like, logically, I'm insane.
Yeah. And that's the only experience that I think that I've ever had where literally, like, whatever it was, obviously wasn't good. This wasn't, like, something benign or...
This isn't he doesn't want to be your friend.
Yeah, this was not residual. This was not, like, a benign, you know...
Well, but look at after we did that, $1 million home, $1.5 million home in the foothills, you would quit ghost hunting after that. Well, sorry, paranormal investigating. At the time, that was before that was even a term. It was just we were ghost hunters.
You know what the fucking he had just seen Ghostbusters, came with a vacuum and a fucking musket.
Yeah,
he's bringing something.
Yeah, no, that experience made me quit.
Yeah,
that was like where, and And I mean, my whole intellectual approach to like the paranormal changed after that, because like then after that, I was like, no, this doesn't exist. Like that had to have been like an episode of mental illness. I tried to like rationalize it all away, and I was like, this doesn't exist. No, that one literally messed me so bad where I was like, not only do I quit doing this, I don't believe in this anymore, because if I don't believe in it, then it can't fuck with me.
You can't hurt me.
If I don't believe it, it didn't happen.
Right? But I mean, that's literally the same behavior as a victim of a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
Well, and think about it though too. So at the time we had started our paranormal company, we had brought in a third who was wanting to learn the editing and, you know, trying to get all the shit sound out, so all you hear is the silence and any other voices. You get out all the background noise that you don't need, so it's a little more clear.
Yeah, we threw in a first-time tech into that environment.
And when we did the EVP with him in there, so he never said his name. We had said ours, but we never said his. And we're asking questions, and we're like, you know, oh, we've been here before, but is it okay for him to be here? And, you know, not thinking about it, I just pointed and said him. And, of course, this isn't his real name, but in there you hear, "No, Jack," being whispered. So say no, his name, like it's not okay for him to be here. It knew his name without us ever saying it or him ever saying it. And we heard responses involving him more than we heard involving ourselves. Anytime we brought up, oh, is it okay for him? Do you like him? Like anything with him in it, it would respond, but negatively.
Yeah, I mean, it was responding with sounds that were again like pretty telltale for anybody who's like been in that business or that industry for a significant amount of time, where when you hear loud noises, they'll guide you to one place and then appear in another. So hear crashing and banging, but nothing's falling in an area, you go to check it out, and then the sound moves. And so like it's in that scenario, like it's toying with you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We like how you said with like the ghost hunting after, or the paranormal investigation was called now, but back then ghost hunting, like how you said, like it's taking you one place and another place, and then like that shit freaked you out so much that you just stopped. I've kind of slowed down a little bit more since like the St. Luke, so we'll do investigations every once in a while, but he kind of has to fucking twist my arm to get me to go.
Yeah, and it's different too, because like the one he's talking about was what made me quit was being hurt for the first time by something that wasn't.
Yeah. And like I said, I've slowed down a lot more on it, and he kind of has to force me to go. But was it last year, right? Or is it with the beginning of this year we went to the warehouse?
Because
I know we did 2 back to back.
It was either end of the year, end of last, or beginning of this, somewhere around those like couple
where
months.
we work, it's heavily haunted. We've had multiple experiences, but he's like, hey, we haven't done an investigation in a while. Let's do one for the cast, and we'll take everything, and then we'll just kind of like go down there and investigate all this stuff. And the first night was fucking terrible, because we'd hear sounds and we'd go to like where the sound was, and that's kind of like alluding to like what you were saying as well. And it was basically just a fucking wild goose chase, because we go to one area where we hear a sound, and we'd start like setting everything up and recording. We didn't catch shit in that area, and then like 3-4 times until it kind of hit us, like, this is just kind of fucking around with us. Like, it's sending us to where it doesn't want us to be. So I was like, fuck that. Let's go to this area over here, because we haven't heard anything here. And as soon as we got there, the fucking little EVP meter fucking starts spiking like crazy. And we started hearing shit, and they're like, oh, well, let's try this area. We haven't been here either. And we're just sitting down, and we have those giant fucking round mirrors that let you, like, look around corners and shit.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of sitting, and we start hearing, like, creaking from behind us, like, noises, like, in the racks. So I look up, and I was like, I fucking point to the mirror, and there's, like, somebody standing at the end of the fucking little alley, like, the little breezeway. And then, at the same time I see that, the fucking little... He has this thing that, like, says, like, old save, like...
Spirit talker.
Yeah, that. But it also shows you what it's saying. And then it said, like, 13, and that's the same number. That's we have our aisles numbered. And where I saw that thing was 13. So I was like, oh, it wants us to go down this way. And as soon as you walk in there, it starts, like, shit starts getting, like, weird. Because, like, we're talking, and we're starting to hear echoes. And I think it's the third guy who had come with us for this one.
Yep.
Jiro. He's like, do you guys hear an echo? And then we pick up that in the whole warehouse, we've worked there many years. Not once have being in there and talking, like, as loud as we're talking, has there ever been an echo. And the echo isn't coming from, like, near us. It's coming from, like, the back end. And then I was like, all right, I think that's about enough of this shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it got real heavy. Real dark feeling, not very pleasant. And then, yeah, we were hearing the echoes, so we ended up going back. And that's shortly after that we took off.
Yeah. And then I think the only, like, the one time I've ever had, like, actual contact, like a ghost, like, touch me or whatever, we had just finished a shift, and I think it was like a Friday? Or no, it was later in the day. I was thinking it was a Thursday because I think you were closing. You're like, hey, let's do, like, a spirit talk real quick.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And so our warehouse is split in two. It's just the regular side, and then there's, like, the special side. And the special side is, like, motion-activated lights because it's, like, brand new. It's, like, maybe a couple of years it's set up there. And we're just standing on, like, the regular side, and it's maybe, like, what, like 200 feet to the newer half. And we're just using the spirit talker, and, like, the lights come on. I was like, what the fuck? And then, I don't know what I said, but I had said something, like, mockingly. And then he scolded me. He's like, you know you're not supposed to do it. Like, you've been doing this long enough to know that you're not supposed to, like...
And then I tried apologizing for us.
Yeah, and then as soon as he starts, like, explaining, like, hey, you know you're not supposed to do it, something yanks my shirt back. And then I was like, dude, you gotta check my neck. And then, like, there's a scratch down the back of my neck. I was like, it's time to go.
And the spirit talker had said something, too. I can't remember, like, he will kill you or
like,
something.
he will harm you or some shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's time to go.
Yeah, this one's been doing it long enough to, like, before we knew those things, before, like, anybody was warned against, like, provocation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just instances like the one you brought up in Mansion House. I don't know even what you want to call that.
Yeah, and the backstory of why we did this one is because the family friend that told us about it was saying that they got home and their maid was outside. Yes, they had a maid. And she was outside freaking the fuck out, hysterically crying, shaking, like everything, just absolutely terrified. And while she was laying in bed, she got woken up to feeling hands from her shoulders, like top of her shoulders, all the way down to her feet, at the same time forcefully tucking her in.
It's
like
no,
trying to make it where like she can't get out of the bed.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so during that investigation, like the real part of that where like I quit afterwards was we were in I think one of those back made rooms, no?
Yeah, we were in her room on her bed.
And like literally laying down flat on the bed, and again, this is not like condoning this. I highly recommend against this.
Yes.
But we were provoking all night. Well, because we didn't know better. Again, like
we weren't seeing as much activity as we wanted.
Yeah, this was before there were 34 different paranormal investigating shows like before all the YouTube channels and podcasts like had dedicated to this thing. We didn't know. It was just going to hunt ghosts before. Yep. And so we were using provocative language like that whole entire night.
Fight me, ghost bitch.
Probably worse than that. probably way worse than that.
Oh, yeah.
But laying flat on that bed, on my back, I just, that huge, like, burning sensation, and we were hearing stuff all before then. Again, like, it was that same scenario where sounds were being thrown, and we were obviously being led to different areas at different times.
The room right next to that, before we went into that room, is the one where you and our third were on the bed by the door. I was on the bed across from it, and I remember having you guys move to where I was, because you would look under the door and you would see the light, and then you would see a shadow slowly cross in front of it, block out the light comes back, and it was just like pacing outside the fucking door.
Yeah, either it was pacing or there was several different things crossing the light. We could sit and speculate about like which one of those it was.
Yeah,
but either of them is a possibility. But for that burning sensation to hit, and for me to like feel something touch me while laying flat on the bed, which couldn't happen,
and the bed started shaking.
Yeah, to have, like, you can't reach through a bed. It's made of solid stuff, and physics don't work like that. Yeah. And then to like get up and have you and our tech in training at the time, like check me, and that drew blood. It wasn't just like a scratch and like a red mark. That drew blood. It was bleeding. So like it actually hurt. It wasn't like oh shit, I like kind of feel something, or that's like a burning, itching feeling. No, yeah, that fucking hurt. And so I had scratch marks that had literally blood coming out. I'm not gonna like dramatize it and say like it was pouring in 1-inch gashes. It wasn't like that. My guts are
coming out the back.
It gave me a blood eagle.
How I'll survive? Duct tape. Sponsor us duct tape.
But no, it was definitely like scratches scraped to the point where like blood was like coming out. Little spots of blood were coming out. It was pretty bad. And after that, I like, again, in those moments where you can't rationalize it, it's the absolute worst, because then you either just have to like try to leave it alone, or try to rationalize it and keep living through a moment where you can't explain it, and you're just gonna keep thinking about what just happened to you. It's the worst. And so after that, I just quit. I was like, I don't believe in this anymore. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm not having these experiences anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I left the group. And
you're like, nope. So I'm here is if we do another investigation, want to go?
I guess it would depend where.
St. Luke's. I don't even know if we can get on there with as with as busy as a Daddy Fat Sacks is.
Yeah.
But there's still a few places I want to try and go. I still want to do that antique mall on 22nd. I still would like to do, if we could get the funding for it, the Jerome Hotel.
That one, my lady had taken her kid because she's like really into like the paranormal shit as well.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Madonna.
Well, my daughter. But they had done like this haunted tour or whatever, and this is like, yeah, it's like they take you around like the haunted mines and all that stuff, and I think like around the hotel. And while they were leaving, my daughter felt like somebody grabbed her by the wrist, like when they were about to leave. I was like, yeah, no, fuck that. And kid was like, well, next time you guys do an investigation, can I go too? I was like, no. Because you are going to fucking provoke it, and I don't want to hear your mom saying you brought something back with you.
But Mom, I'm only floating in the middle of my dreams 2 feet off of my bed.
I only threw up a little bit of the green.
It was only a good 5-foot radius puzzle.
You know,
Puddle.
but I understand it, like, fuck that, I'm out. Because I've had a couple of times where, like, where we've done investigations or we've done, like, some shit like that, where I'm like, do I really want to continue to be involved in this? Because, like, only bad shit's happening to me. Like, nothing ever happens to him. And then, our third mite got attacked, and then that's kind of where he stopped, like, fucking with it as well. I was like, smart. That checks out. But, even we had done, like, an episode where we did, like, Rando Nautica.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
Was it?
Yes.
Because I think we did 3 stops.
Yeah, we did 3.
Yeah. So the first one led us, like, to, like this house development and all that by the, like, right by the Santa Cruz River, by, like, on Grant, I want to say.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's like, go, like, 5 paces this way, and it gives you kind of, like, a circle, like, where you're going to find something. And we looked, like, looking around, like, the bushes, and I was like, oh, we don't see anything. And then we, like, look into the wash, and there's, like, a drawer, like, the bottom of a drawer. And there's a backpack inside of it, kind of, like, leaning. It's like this, but the backpack looks like it's, like, dirty and kind of, like, stained. I was like, what the fuck are we going to find in here? But we couldn't reach it.
Because it was midway down the wash, like, right in the middle of the fucking steep-ass slope.
Yeah, so then we're like, well, we can't go down in there, because if whoever goes down there is going to have to walk, like, 2 miles to, like, the little part of the wash that lets you up, and then we're going to have to pick them up by, like, the fucking crackhead Waffle House down there. And we're like, all right, so that's not safe. So we did another one. It took us, like, into, like, this neighborhood down, like, on the east side. It's like, go down this way, and then it led us into, like, an alley. And we're like, well, we can't take the car in there. So one of us is going to have to get off and go check to see what it's telling us. And I don't know how the fuck I drew the fucking short straw on that one. So they're like, all right, you go. I was like, shit. I was like, all right. So
Duffy.
it was maybe, what, like 20 feet from where you guys were at in the car?
Yeah, like,
You know, you always send the most expendable person first.
Fair enough. It's my car. Fuck that. I'll report stolen as a ghost.
We're
all going down with this.
We could see him, but it was one of those where if shit popped off, it was still an uncomfortably far distance away, even though he was really close.
I think this is before I had my gun, actually.
It was.
I don't know why the fuck I agreed to do this.
I had mine, but it was at my feet in the holster, like I had taken the belt off.
Yeah. So I go and I'm walking, and I was like, what the fuck am I looking for? Because I think I had his phone with the thing that shows a little circle.
And
when you get in the circle, it turns white, so it shows you, like, where you're at.
And I think our intention was, like, something dark and evil.
Yeah. So I get to, like, this little, like, it's not a turn because they could still see me, but it's kind of, like, tucked away. It's like a slab of cement. The slab was, like, it looked, I don't want to speculate, but it looked like dry blood on the slab. And I'm looking around, there's a pair of, like, little girl shorts on there, and then there's, like, a pipe, and then there's a fucking, a metal, kind of like the Stanley cups. Sponsor Stanley. And there's, like, dark liquid inside of it, but I was like, I'm not touching any of this shit. Like, I don't want to, but, like, you can see into the lid, and it's, like, a dark liquid, so I was like, I'm hoping that's Pepsi, not blood. But, yeah, there's, like, little girl shorts, and they're, like, stained, and then there's, like, a sock. I was like, fuck. I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this shit for tonight. I was like, this is a lot.
But we still had one more stop with the intention of death.
That took us to, what was it? Like,
behind
Speedway
St. Mary's. Yeah.
Like, that fucking, what is it? The Tumamock Hill?
Yeah.
So it took us around there. It's like, you have to walk, like, 300 paces in and then turn right off the path. And then walk another, like, 100 feet. And then that's just where, like, all the, like, the trees and groves are. So I was like, we're gonna find a dead body. I was like, and the path closed in like 20 minutes. It's a hell of a fucking walk, especially if we're gonna find something. And this was maybe like what, coming around like 11:30.
Yeah, it was like 11:30 because I think it said the park closed at midnight.
Yeah,
and we had made it up the hill in time, but where it was trying to have us go was in between the hill and the backyard of the house is down the hill. But there's still a good, say, 3,000 feet between those two. So about halfway down, 1,500 feet is where it was saying we would find what we were looking for.
Yeah.
So there's no way we could have done that and walked all the way back and not had our cars towed because it was closed.
Yeah, the weirdest part about this story is you quit, which is not normally your MO.
I think after we found the fucking second thing, we were all kind of just like, do we keep going? What's kind of, because we had like a moment of silence in that car where we were just driving and nobody was saying anything. And I think we drove around for maybe like 5 minutes before we put in the next location, because I think we're all just kind of contemplating what the fuck, like the speculation of what the fuck we had just seen. Well, I had just seen.
Yeah.
And we were all just kind of quiet, like, which even, I mean, you've known him like for a long, long time. You know that there's not really like moments where he's like quiet in contemplation. Like he's always like cracking jokes and he's just like trying to cheer everybody up and like.
Yeah, no, it takes a lot.
Yeah, so we were like just sitting in the car like quiet, and then I think after maybe like 5-10 minutes, like, do we do another one? I was like, oh, we only got like 30 minutes worth of show. We gotta stretch this bitch out to at least 45. Let's do another one. And just that, I was like, that's probably something like on the list of shit I don't want to do again. Because you see like a lot of like these instances where like that shit goes like terribly wrong. And like, hey, we're being followed by like some random guy and we're like in the forest.
Yeah, but look we all got guns now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very different scenario at this point.
Yeah, because this is less ghost, but more of a setup. So I'm assuming they also have guns. And then we don't know how many of them there are. But just like, that's one of the things, like, if they'd be like, hey, you want to go to St. Luke's again, or do you want to do Randonautica? I'd go back to the place where the fucking ghost attached itself to me 100 times over.
Yeah, nearly 40% of gun owners own them and never shoot them. So I think I feel pretty good about my odds being part of the 60% that does.
Yeah.
Fucking old man comes around the fucking corner while I'm doing Randonautica, he's fucking catching one.
Yeah,
not my grandpa.
And I'll only speak for myself in this scenario, but my groupings are pretty tight.
Yeah, there's been a time where we almost had to fire one, but this wasn't even ghost related. This was a Burger King drive-thru.
Oh, I remember that. That was actually coming home from one of our weekend. No, was it?
No, this is Friday.
Oh, okay.
We had gone with Zero to the fucking game shop to hang out for a while.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we were coming back and it was like 10. And we go to like the drive-thru and I was like, hey man, you hungry? This is like, it's late and I don't think we ate dinner.
No, we didn't.
And this was very expensive because this was before the $5 meal hit.
This was during the pandemic. But
pandemic prices.
No, this was after. But we're in the drive-thru and I roll the window down. I was like, hey man, what you want? And I turn around. There's like a fucking crackhead Mexican dude and like his lady standing by like the windows. Like, hey man, so if I give you money, he's like, will you like place my order because we don't have a car. Meanwhile, the lobby's still open. I was like, you can go through the lobby, dude. He's like, no. I was like, I'll just give you the money and then just order us food. And then he pulls out like a 20, which is like the fakest 20 ever because the print's like off. I was like, nah, man. And I was like, I'm not gonna do this. He's like, come on, don't be a bitch. I was like, fuck you, you a bitch. And I placed the order and then he's like, motherfucker. I was like, man, fuck you and your fucking nappy asshole. And we go, poor lady, she wasn't even in this. She was just standing there. She just wanted some nuggets.
You took the lowest hanging fruit.
I did.
Hey, casualties happen.
You can't even eat it, bitch. You ain't got no teeth. Yeah, I do right here. He pulls out of his pocket. But
we stay petty out here.
Oh yeah, I'll insult his mama. I'll insult his baby. But then we're in the drive-thru and we're waiting for our food and there's like no other cars behind us. And we see them go to like the fucking, it's like down like right here. Is like by the Famous Sam's.
Yep.
They go to the Famous Sam's. There's the lady like getting out of her car, and then he's like going and they're like talking. He's like pointing at the Burger King, and she's like. So then we see him like walking this when he's angry. He's like saying shit, and I was like, "Hey narrator, get your gun out real quick." And he's like, "All right." And he pulls it and he goes, and he fucking cocks it, and the dude's like walking towards us, and then like immediately takes like a 90-degree turn and like stands behind our car.
And mind you, this is when I had. It was a 5-inch barreled Glock. So it was a Glock 45.
I think it was actually my gun. I think it's this one.
Was it?
Yeah, because this is before I had bought it off of you.
Oh, shit, okay.
Yeah, so it's this gun. And he just goes and he stands there. I was like, God damn, dude. Like, people are fucking scared. Like, you gonna die over fucking $2 nuggets?
Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, at that point, you're talking shit and walking this way. At that point, I don't know what you're planning. I don't know what you got. I don't know what you're gonna pull out. I am in fear of my life and safety, and we'll start getting ready to handle as needed.
And that's the scary thing, because, like, with ghosts, you can kind of, like, oh, it's the MO. Like, yeah, it's the otherworldly. They maybe have unfinished business. Humans are where you really have to be fucking terrified of, because you don't know what the fuck's going on in their brains.
Yep.
No, or what's not going on in their brains is probably more accurate.
That's why I say Idiocracy, the movie, is, we're almost there.
Have you heard the funny story about that? About the shoes from Idiocracy?
What about them?
So, when they were filming the movie, they, like, to stay in line with the premise, they were like, we need to design outfits that are going to look as stupid as fucking possible.
Yeah.
And so they found this, like, startup that made shoes. And they were like, oh my God, these things are atrocious. No one's ever going to buy these. Let's get these for the film. And so they ended up buying something like 500 pairs or something for the filming of the movie. Those shoes would later be Crocs.
Oh, God.
They thought they were so fucking stupid that no one would ever buy them. And now they sell accessories to put on them.
Yeah. Thank you, Mom, for getting them for my daughter. I fucking appreciate it.
Her mom's like, these are fresh. You're gonna look so funky fresh.
Look, you got the little decorations for them.
Oh, God.
You got your bling bling.
Yeah, so, yeah, I definitely understand what you mean. So, my next question to kind of pose to the two of you is, you guys have experienced stuff over a long duration, and you've been through periods where you don't, right?
Yeah.
What do you think is, and I am guiding you here, what is the cause, or what do you believe the cause is of those periods where you do and where you don't? Do you think it's the place? Is it objects? Like,
I think, because the way I see it is, I think ghosts are just kind of like energy. It's like residual energy from a person after they die. So you ever see that thing where they recorded a person's weight before and after they die? And as soon as they die, they lose like an amount, and people are like, that's their soul. So what I'm assuming is like, I think ghosts are just like residual energy, and they feed off of your energy. Like an energy vampire. So if you're in a bad place at a bad time, and you have like a bad mental state and all that, I think you're more susceptible. Someone help me with this?
susceptible.
That shit. To kind of like a haunting, because
It's your Brooklyn accent.
it's my book. He's from Monterrey. But I think that
Mr. Superman, no.
I think that's what it is too.
Más queso.
Because when like all this shit was going on with me, I wasn't in the best headspace, and I had a lot of shit going on. So I think that's what made it easier for this like shit to attach to me. And like I said, because from the space of the first haunting to the second haunting, where we went to St. Luke's, I had gone through a whole messy ass breakup. I was going through mental shit, and I think that's what made it a lot easier, because when you go like to investigate, you're like, they tell you don't allow anything to attach itself to you. Like, let it be known that you're not allowed to, and just don't show that you're scared, because that's kind of how shit works. But I was terrified both times, and I fucking hated it. And on top of that, I had like all this shit that I was like worrying about, like even like before we even came in. Because I mean, he knows me fairly well that I'm a very anxious person. I worry about things like months in advance. So when we knew we were doing this, I was stressed out for like the entirety of that month. And then we did it on Halloween, which I by far I think was the dumbest choice we could have made.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Oh,
Come on.
no.
We did Halloween, and it was like, I think we stayed there to maybe like midnight. So I was like, this is a bad idea. So I think it's just your environment that you're around, because a lot of people that have like experience like that, they're got shit going on at the same time.
So you touched on something that I was kind of like guiding it to this point, which is you said energy has a lot to do with it, right?
Yeah.
So there's like the modern line of thinking is that the paranormal surrounds itself around like PK energy or psychokinetic energy.
Yeah.
Right? And the reason why like people become like really, really sensitive, or even if you buy into the notion of like psychics or mediums or things like that, those people are...
If you like what you're hearing so far, stay tuned next week for the final episode in this 3-episode saga.